Good afternoon and welcome to the 2015 National Forum on Education Policy. It is truly an honor to have all of you with us here today. We have our largest turnout in over 10 years at the National Forum, and we're excited to have you, yes. And we're excited to have you here with us to talk about some major education policies. But we're also really excited about the diversity of our attendees. We have 49 states represented, along with the District of Columbia. We have governors, lieutenant governors, legislators, chairs of education committees, chief state school officers, university presidents, higher ed officials, Milken educators, teachers of the year, legislative staff, and even business partners. And it's really impressive when you think about the diversity of this crowd, because that's not normal at many of the conferences you would attend. We have a very busy schedule for you for the next 3 days. We have 8 different plenary sessions ranging across the gambit, from kindergarten readiness and early learning programs to pathways to post-secondary, from assessment implementation to what's going on with the achievement gap. We also have 24 concurrent sessions, smaller opportunities for you to engage with national leaders and truly discuss these policies. We have 12 roundtables tomorrow, a great opportunity for you to sit down with experts and ask the questions on what you need help with in your states. We have 2 good receptions, one today that'll be in the foyer, and one tomorrow to celebrate our 50th anniversary that will be in the plaza outside. And we also have 4 Ed Talks. And I'm excited to give the first Ed Talk to kick off the National Forum. I'm going to be talking about Education Commission of the States, 50 years and where we're heading. When I look back and think about the Education Commission of the States' start, it's important to get a little historical background. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed, a landmark piece of legislation, but truly the first foray of the federal government into some federal education policy. The next year, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act passed, and to be honest, from looking in the archives at ECS, there were some governors who might have been scared. It was a change. The federal government now has education policies, and they have some demands of the states. The states are trying to hold themselves accountable and figure out where are the best policies. What can I learn from a different state? What did they do wrong that I don't want to replicate? And that's really how the need for the Education Commission of the State came about at a Council of State Governments meeting in Kansas City in 1965. Historically, it's important to note that we didn't even have a U.S. Department of Education until 1979. When we think about why the Education Commission of the States matters, we think a lot to our founder, visionary leader James Bryant Conant, president at Harvard and ambassador for the United States to Germany after World War II. James Bryant Conant had a lot of great writings, but one of the quotes I love the most is the one on the screen that says, "We ought to have a mechanism by which each state knows what the other states have done in each education area and the arguments pro and con. We ought to have a way by which the states could rapidly exchange information and plans on all education matters, from kindergarten through university graduate school." That is our mission. It is what we do every day for you at the Education Commission of the States. In the mid-70s, James Bryant Conant passed away, and an award was established for the James Bryant Conant National Award. And some of the dignitaries who have received that award over the years are amazing. They include Thurgood Marshall, Carl Perkins and Claiborne Pell, Marion Wright Edelman, Lamar Alexander, Linda Darling Hammond, Ron Wolk, Katie Haycock and James Comer, and the Honorable Mr. Fred Rogers. We are honored that you have joined us for the next 3 days in our neighborhood so we can talk about major education issues. But to talk about some of these, I think we need to think about who we are and why we came. Many of you came because you have a title, either elected or appointed, and you represent a state in big education issues. Some of you are here because you're national leaders in a certain education sector. But if you step back and think about the almost 600 people attending this event from 49 states, we've assembled the best and brightest in education policymakers in one place for 3 days. And it's probably important for us to think about it beyond just our state or our expertise. The first chair of the Education Commission of the States was North Carolina Governor Terry Sanford. And at the very first meeting of the Education Commission of the States, this is what he told the members. It's important for you, as commissioners, to see yourself as leaders of all in education. You are not, while here, spokespeople for a particular point of view or level of education. You are not even spokespeople for your particular states. You are here as the leadership of all states for the advancement of education. 50 years ago, we opened our doors, and today we still believe in the power of learning from experience. Every day, we provide unbiased information and opportunities like this for collaboration so you don't have to recreate the wheel. This is one of my favorite slides, and having worked in DC on Capitol Hill and in state houses and with governors, and having visited almost every one of your state houses, I say this with respect, this is how education policy is made many times over. Well-intentioned people, they've defined a problem, they work on a solution, but they don't have a chance to stop and learn from others on what has already been put in place. What didn't work that we don't want to replicate so that we can get the best possible outcomes. And that's what we do every day for you at the Education Commission of the States. And I want to let you in on a couple little secrets. All of us at the Education Commission of the States are policy wonks, and we're proud of it. We even at times in our office have many celebrations when you pass omnibus appropriations bills. And we do this because when you pass your legislation, we actually read it. We read it from the first word to the last word. And we read it so we can pull out every single education policy and put it in our state policy database. Last year, we added 2,100 new education policies to the database. Whether you want to talk about kindergarten readiness, bullying, transition to high schools, or how to save money on your school finance plan, it's in our database. And you should look there because you're probably going to find 5 or 6 states who may have done something similar, and you'll know which states to reach out to or which of their statutes you may want to review before you write your own legislation. But beyond being policy wonks, we actually do every day what we do for you because we believe your policies are aimed for the right reasons, to make a difference in the lives of our future workforce, our students, and to help teachers achieve success. I want to spend a few minutes and introduce you to 3 individuals who will be a theme throughout the next 3 days. The first of those is Tyler. Tyler is 18 years old. He just graduated at the end of May from Allen Central High School in very rural Kentucky. By the numbers, Tyler's not the student that we'd expect to be going to college in August. Tyler's high school has less than 400 students, and it is a 77% free and reduced lunch school. Poverty research across the country continues to show us that rural high schools that are low income tend to have the lowest college going rate, even lower than urban high schools that are low income. But Tyler's going to college. I've talked to them a bunch, and I know Tyler's going to college because while he graduated from high school at the end of May, on May 8th, Tyler was awarded an associate's degree in science. Tyler is a great story. Tyler is a recipient of great policies in Kentucky that are promoting dual enrollment. Tyler was able to be involved in the Floyd County Early College Academy, a partnership with the Big Sky Community and Technical College. Tyler was still a high school student when he was a junior and senior. He went to prom, he went to pep rallies, he had lunch at the high school, but he also took courses at the community college. Tyler has 67 credit hours under his belt, and at the age of 18, in August, he will be a junior at the University of Kentucky in the Scholars in Engineering and Management program. But when I talk to Tyler on the phone, and Tyler's 18, so I have to text him a lot also, but when I talk to Tyler on the phone, what he's most proud of is the fact that he's the first person in his household to receive any post-secondary degree or certification. Tyler is why we do what we do for you in the States every day. For the last 3 years, we have focused on a big project called the Blueprint for College Readiness, a project that brought together national leaders from across the country and has had technical briefings in almost all of your states to look at the 10 major policies to help make the transition from high school to post-secondary more seamless. We've even boiled down the 10 policies into 4 kind of problems that the students are experiencing. And those are, how do we help students prepare for college? How do we help students apply for college? How do we help students pay for college? And how do we help students stay in college? The plenary session after my speech is going to have 4 national experts who are going to talk about how we help students prepare for college. And we have 2 other concurrent sessions on this very issue that I'd urge you to be engaged in over the next 3 days. The second person I want to introduce to you is Ebony. Ebony is an amazing 5th grader from here in Denver. Ebony has good grades, and she is very, very engaged in the civics. She was elected to her student council, and just recently received a certificate of award from the Colorado Department of Transportation. Ebony's elementary school backs up to Interstate 70, and as they look to reroute Interstate 70, Ebony was on a focus group with engineers trying to figure out how to make it the safest for her and her fellow elementary students. Ebony's success is tremendous, but it hasn't always been easy. Ebony is raised by her mother and her grandmother, and times have been difficult, and the finances are not always abundant. But when I talk with Ebony's mom and grandmother, they tell me that the best thing that ever happened to her was the Denver preschool program, an initiative that passed in 2006 and was just reauthorized in 2014 that allows there to be sales taxes put into a universal early learning program that guarantees that in Denver, at least, every 3- and 4-year-old has access to a high-quality preschool. In Ebony's case, that is the foundation that has helped her succeed. Tomorrow morning, we have an expert from across the country, Rion Evans-Alvin, who will be here to talk about the Denver Preschool Project and other programs like it. And we have 2 concurrent sessions on early learning programs I'd urge you to attend. I also want to take a quick moment to recognize Ebony, who is here with us today, and thank her for sharing her story with us. The third person I want to introduce to you is James Ford. James is a tremendous teacher. He is very engaged in all of his students' lives. He believes in the powers of collaboration, and he pushes critical thinking on his students extremely hard. But James is a unique story, because James never once thought he wanted to be a teacher. Not when he was a kid, not when he was in high school, not even when he went to college. You see, James has told me multiple times when we've talked that he came from a very strong family, but a blue-collar family in an industrialized city. His parents insisted that he would be going to college so that he could succeed in the world. But James didn't always apply himself the same way. To quote James, "By choices, I lived a D- lifestyle in high school." Here's a picture of James from his high school yearbook. I'm not sure if he's sleeping or if he's trying to get in the picture. But James did go to college. James went to college and got a degree in journalism. And he went out in the real world and realized it was not only what he didn't want to be doing, but it was an industry that was in the middle of a revolution, and it wasn't simple. So James started to volunteer in Illinois at an at-risk teen center. And it was there that James found the love of his life, teaching, making a difference in students' lives, helping them overcome the hurdles that have been put before him. James had a lot of great opportunities in Illinois to figure out how he could get his teaching certificate. He chose the route of going back and getting his master's degree in teaching. And in 2009, James graduated from Rockford University with a master's degree in teaching and began teaching in Illinois. In 2010, James moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and started working at Gehringer High School. James Ford, self-described D- high school student, has only been teaching for 5 years because he didn't want to be a teacher, is the North Carolina Teacher of the Year. James, can you please stand and be recognized? And I would also like to ask for all of the Teachers of the Year who are with us here today to please stand and be recognized also. I've been engaged with ECS for 10 years, 3 years in my current role. But the first thing I did in 2005 was work to find funding to bring the Teachers of the Year to the National Forum. For 10 years we have done that. And I can tell you as a policymaker, it's important. We all have the best of intentions with the policies that we put in place, but we don't always have the metrics to find out if the practitioners in the classroom see it as successful as we may have saw. So I'd urge you over the next 3 days to ask these Teachers of the Year how things are working, whether or not your ideas are really meeting the needs that you thought they would. We have 3 different concurrent sessions around the future of teaching and how it's playing out. James Ford will be one of the speakers, and I'd urge you to take advantage of those and attend those over the next 3 days. In closing, I want to talk about 2 important questions. One is, how does the Education Commission of the States help you? We know that the most effective education policy happens only when policymakers in every state and at every level learn from each other. We work hard to provide reports and research and counsel and convenings for you so you can make the best possible choices on the policies you need in your state, your city, your districts. Every day we provide unbiased information and opportunities for collaboration so you don't have to recreate the wheel. And honestly, if you look at the screen, every iteration of that wheel was advanced because of things we learned from the previous iteration. Education policy is very similar. And with almost 600 education leaders from across the country here for the next 3 days, there is a lot to be learned. Honestly, our success is not advocacy. Our success is educating policymakers like you so you can make the best possible choices on what's necessary for your districts. In the end, we serve as your education policy team. I want to talk a little bit also about the relevance of ECS in the future. What makes us relevant for the next 50 years and beyond? When we were formed, there was a discussion about the difference going on between whether or not it was a federal policy or state policy, and how do states learn from each other. 50 years have changed, but I would argue that issue is as strong and even strident as it was 50 years ago. Governor Terry Sanford has a great quote, which we have etched in glass in our office. And it's a quote I look at every day when I come into the office thinking of how I can serve you. The quote says, "The commission must stir up trouble and make the body politic itch. It must be unafraid. It must be the blueprint for architects. It must be responsive to all good policy ideas. It must take the problems, assemble the best, and search for answers, whatever they might be. The Education Commission of the States enables states to do together what they could not do so well alone." On behalf of Governor Terry Sanford in his sage comments 50 years ago, on behalf of our founder, James Bryant Conant, on behalf of Tyler and Ebony and James Ford and all of us at the Education Commission of the States, welcome to the 2015 National Forum on Education Policy.